Hey everybody, welcome back to Board Online, Board Offline. As you can see, I am not at home right now. I'm actually on a trip, and I wanted to get this video out because it has already been too long in the making. And if I didn't do it now, it'd be at least another week before we got it done. So we're going to get the Lord of the Rings review down and in video form right now. So what we've got going on with Lord of the Rings, I'm just going to jump right into it instead of doing kind of talk about it beforehand sometimes. This time we're just going to jump right into it. Let's start with Originality. For Originality, I'm going to give it a 1.1 out of 2. And anytime you're using an IP that's not an original IP, you're going to suffer on Originality a little bit. But they did a few things that I hadn't seen before. It's not groundbreaking by any means. One of the things that I do like a lot is the way threat is used in this game, where it's constantly increasing and causing more enemies that are more difficult to come down and attack you. That's a pretty cool idea. I like how that works, and it makes sure that the game is constantly ramping up as you play and give you kind of an urgency to try to get the game done as quickly as possible and efficiently as possible, so that you can try to avoid some of the enemies, or at least encounter them as you want to, rather than having them forced on you from the staging area. So 1.1 out of 2 for that, just because there wasn't a whole lot groundbreaking. We've got aesthetics next, and I'm going to give this a 2.4 out of 3. I really like the way most of the game looks. It really is. It's got some great artwork. The enemies especially look really, really cool for the most part. Most of the hero art is good as well. Some of the heroes look a little bit strange. Aragorn in particular looks like something off the front of a bad paperback romance novel or something. But I also have to acknowledge that maybe some of the reasons that I don't like the way some of the heroes look might be because of preconceived notions I have after watching the movies. And because of that, I came into the game expecting one thing and got something else. That's certainly possible. Still, they look a little bit strange, some of them. And I went ahead and looked at Frodo in an expansion, even looks really weird. But for the most part, the artwork is great. The artwork on the other components, such as the threat dial and the tokens, all of that's great. Really, really good. So I'm a big fan of most of what they did here. So for aesthetics, I'm giving it a 2.4 out of 3. For component quality, again, this is very well done. I'm going to give it a 3.2 out of 4. And the only things that I really complain about is there was a little bit of difficulty punching some of the tokens, causing some of those little hanger-ons that you see sometimes. But then on top of that, the cards themselves are that same thin quality that I wish cards were a little bit thicker. Sorry for the way this camera's bouncing around, but I wish the cards were a little bit thicker, but that's, I guess, just the way the games are these days. But then all the cardboard itself is great for the components. So we're going to go with a 3.2 out of 4 for component quality. Now these last two are really where it starts to falter a little bit for me. First, we've got thrill factor. And this game is more frustrating than thrilling for me. It really feels like I frequently find myself feeling like the missions are impossible to win very early on into the mission. Like you already know without a doubt that there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do about it. This is especially true for the last mission, which I never successfully beat without having made a really bad rules error in my favor that I remember after the fact. So without doing that, I've never been able to beat the third mission with the base set, which is a problem that we'll talk about later. But the game can be very frustrating in how brutal it is. And, I get that it's a cooperative game. I like difficult cooperative games. I like playing Pandemic with, 6 epidemic cards. I think it's great to have a difficult cooperative game, but in this case, it really feels like they went a little bit over the line as far as how difficult is okay. Now, there is a way to play in easy mode, but to me, the standard mode should be feasible that you beat the standard mode with the components that you're given, with the cards that you're given, and it's just not the case, which makes it very, very frustrating. There's a few times where you'll have that good set of cards and it'll feel really thrilling and exciting, but more times than not you feel frustrated playing this game, or at least I did. And so that's why I'm giving it a 1 out of 4 for thrill factor. It's just not doing it for me as far as that goes. And it's unfortunate because I've played this game numerous times, 10, maybe 12 times, really wanted to like it, and that right there is one of the key things that is preventing me from liking it more. And that goes into gameplay now. With gameplay, we've got I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. And a lot of that kind of goes back to what I was just talking about with thrill factor. But on top of that, we've got a lack of missions. It gives you 3 missions in the core set, which to me, in a game that is all about, it's designed around having these different missions, to only have 3 to choose from, one of which is almost impossible to beat with the cards you're giving in the core set, that's not enough. That's just not enough. So I wish there were more cards, or excuse me, more missions in the game. So let's go back to how difficult it is for a second. I'm not saying this having only tried to make my own decks, because I'll admit I'm not the best at building decks. I've researched decks on BGG. I've built several different decks. I've even gone the two-handed route where you're playing with 2 different decks. Only using the core set, though, the difficulty is just too high. When the game originally came out, there was no easy mode. There was no way to trim down the difficulty. And so I really feel like you have to look at it in that light, that this is the way they intended to make it, was so difficult that the only way you can really have a fighting chance in that final mission is by buying additional expansions for the game. And it kind of creates this pay-to-play feel with the game, where you've got the core set, but then you don't have everything you need to fully enjoy the core set, because getting repeatedly beaten down by a mission with virtually no hope, without either messing up a rule or just getting incredibly lucky, that's, to me, not enjoyable. And the more I read, the more I researched, the more I realized that most people say you have to get additional sets of cards that have more powerful cards for you to really have a fighting chance. And that's kind of a problem for me, that what you get in the original game is not enough to fully enjoy and accomplish the game, especially when you only have 3 missions in that set. So all that being said, gameplay is going to be a 2 out of 5. What that is going to bring the total to is 57%, which is, just kind of not particularly great. Now, I'll say this: if you're the type of person that's going to go into a living card game system and realize that you have to buy additional card sets, and you're okay with that, there's a lot this game has to offer. But if you're going to go in and want to maybe just get the core set and be fine with that and be done, this isn't the one for you. I really wanted to like it a lot. I love the theme, of course, and I think that maybe the issue is I'm going to have to try a non-cooperative living card game before I can completely write LCGs off entirely. There's the Warhammer 40,000 one. I might give that a shot. There's a few other ones, but as far as this one goes, you pay the initial money to get into the base set, and then you got to pay more money to get cards to beat the base set, and that's just not okay for me. So that's pretty much it. 57% for Lord of the Rings, the card game, the living card game. I hope you enjoyed the video. Normally, like I said, I apologize for the video quality, the sound quality. Normally, it's not going to be like this. Go back and see some of my other videos to see what we normally are doing. Find me on Twitter @boredonlineboardoffline. Find me on BGG. Like this video, or give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you like it. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.